Welcome to Earth to Self. Today we're going to talk about stepping into your journey. Let's talk about what that looks like and what to expect. I know me, I was 28 years old. I worked in a daycare at the time that I absolutely hated my position. I had just graduated my undergrad, which took me 9 years, by the way. And I took the job because I honestly didn't have any other choice in my mind. I graduated May 4th and I started the job May 5th. I was homeless at the time with my toddler son. My partner was in prison, and it was just something that I looked at like, this is what I have to do. I have to take this job. I have to figure out what we're going to do. And I worked there a year and a half. A year later, I turned 28 years old. And I realized during that time when I was 28 and I was working there, I realized I do not know myself anymore. I'm lost. And I had heard about self-love, but I didn't even know that that was a thing. And sometimes I look back how do you not know about this at 28 years old? Like, no, there's even such thing as self-love. That's just mind-blowing to me now that I look back at it. But it was a different time. So anyway, I was 28. I'm wanting something different. I know something's wrong. I know I'm suffering. I know that I'm dealing with something. And I decide after, the big trend is self-love, I decide I'm going to do a self-love journey. And I started it. I started doing a self-love journey. Now, did I know what self-love was? No. Did I know what it looked like? No. Did I know how to do it? No. I knew the why, and the why was important enough. And I think that is going to be the first step for everyone, is figuring out the why. Because just like Jim Rohn says, love Jim Rohn, he says, once you figure out the why, the how is easy. So if you have a big enough why, then the how is easy. That is what he says. And if you guys aren't listening to motivational speaking, you should. That's my first step. I would recommend listening to that on a daily basis. That changed my life forever. That can be in a whole nother episode. And honestly, when I look back, I didn't know what it was going to look like. That, I think, is one of the main reasons I struggled for so long. I didn't know what it was supposed to look like. What does healthy mindset look like? What does healthy love look like? If I don't even know what healthy love looks like, how am I supposed to give that to myself? Right? So but I knew that my why was so important that I could not give up. So I continued on and on and on. And each day was like a new step in this journey. So make sure that you expect that each day it could be a roller coaster for you in the beginning, or it could be a huge rush of relief for you. Just depending on where you are in life and what you've been through and how things are. It's not going to be easy. I'm 36 now, and so that's been 8 years of this journey, and it shifted once I reached self-actualization, which was about 2-3 years ago. And now I feel like I'm on this whole different journey of self-discovery. It's just like a whole different journey. So it really, truly shifted. So my biggest step that you need to take first when you step into your journey is figuring out the why. Write it down. Take a picture of something. Create a vision board. Put it on a wall. Put it on your phone. Whatever you have to do to remind yourself of this every day. Manifest it in your journal every single day. This is why I'm doing this. This is why I'm doing this. And also allow that to change. So allow it to grow. Allow it to be clarified every single day as it does. It will. Just expect it to do that. And so once you figure out the why, then you will be able to break that down so much easier. Let's talk about the how, though. Let's break that down a little bit. When I first stepped into realizing that I needed to do something, I needed to change. I knew that it had to start with me. Sorry, that just like brings me back to Michael Jackson. Like, let's start with the man in the mirror. Okay. So I just had to get that out of my system. But the how is just my biggest tip would be once you figure out the why. For example, my why was because I wanted to be better for my son, and I didn't want to hurt anymore. So then I first started by just grabbing books on trauma, pain, understanding psychology a little bit, understanding, science. And then I also started giving myself 15 to 10, 20 minutes of journaling or writing each day in just any type of binder, any type of notebook I could get a hold of. I moved from doing that, which I still do that actually, to I had found a book and it helped me move into radical acceptance. And once I leaned more into radical acceptance, then I was able to find joy. So then my second step really would be, let's find the joy. Let's take a little class. Let's do this, because now you're rediscovering who you are. What do you like? What do you not like? And the best way to not hurt anymore was to find joy, which I didn't even realize was an emotion. I had always just said the word happy. I never really understood joy. And once I started taking these little classes or finding little things back in the day when like Groupon was a big thing, I would find all these little deals so that I could go do them for a very low cost. And then I also I went back to dancing. I love dancing. I would do that in my living room for 3 to 4 songs just to do it for myself. And once I started allowing myself to refocus in on me and to give me some attention, it was just like the floodgates opened up. It just started pouring in. The more books I read, the more habits I changed, the more behaviors I changed, the more characteristics I grew that I liked, the more characteristics I found that I didn't like. And each of those different hows are going to be different for each of you. Some of you may need to reconnect back to nature. Some of you may need to start setting better boundaries at work. Some of you may need to be giving yourself more space from the kids. Some of you may need to pull back from giving too much to a loved one. Some of you may need to stop isolating yourself. It's going to look different for every single person. So once you figure out the why, dissect it, and it will tell you the how. Earlier as I was talking, I realized that I feel like my journey started back actually when I was like 16, instead of 28. But I feel like it was an intentional start when I was 28, because when I was 16, I came home from school and from high school, and my boyfriend at the time had already dropped out of high school. He was living with us. Yeah, that was a stupid, allowing him to do that. Anyway, whole nother story. So then I came home. I got to leave school early, right? So because you leave school early so that way you can get to work. Well, I was working my first job. I was 16. I had been there like a year, and I literally started this job the day after I turned 15. I found the job, made sure I could get there, found rides, or I walked. And I came home from school and my father is passed out on the couch, or on the let out chair. My boyfriend at the time is passed out on the couch. It's 1:30 in the afternoon. There's beer cans on the floor, and I realized, and my boyfriend was only like 17 and a half at the time. And I realized, if I don't fucking make this move, I am going to end up like this. And I knew I didn't want, it was right there in that moment. I do not want a man like him. I do not want to be in this situation anymore. I do not want to live like this. I need something different. I need something better, and I have to be better. This is not normal. And it's so crazy, it's so crazy how people, when they grow up in chaos or they grow up in situations, they know it's not normal. There's a lot of things I didn't know were normal still. And it took me getting out of the situation to realize, oh, But that doesn't happen to everyone, like, and I'm sure a lot of you can resonate with that. I saw that moment. I knew this is not right. This is not where I'm supposed to, like, this is not going to be it for me. And I knew it was on me. Like, in that moment, I knew it was on me to make the changes, to be better, to have better, to grow better. And I had to change. I had to shift. I started lying to my parents about how much money I had so they wouldn't take it, because I knew I had to get away. I had to run away. And that was the biggest aha moment for me. But when I was 28, that's when I knew the point of the journey even further. And yes, it took me that freaking long. Well, because, it's like you're in the midst of chaos. You're in the midst of creating your own chaos, creating your own trauma. So if you're at that space right now, or you just got past that, do not shame yourself for going through that. Do not shame yourself for taking that long, for having that time. Just realize what it is now, and let's move forward, because shame does not serve any purpose for anyone. Now, I've been approached quite a few times about, well, how long does it take for me to get to this space? Or how long does it take to move forward? And the answer is unknown, boo. Like, it's just unknown. I don't know where you are in your journey. I don't know what you've been through. I don't know where you're supposed to go. I don't know what your destiny is. But at the same time, it's going to take, I would say, at minimum a good 5 years. And honestly, at the end of the day, to get to self-actualization. And at the end of the day, let's just be honest. Our self-discovery journey never ends. It's just actually starting it so that way you can have a better life and be your better self for the rest of your life. Some of us get to start this early on, and that's such a beautiful opportunity that I want to make sure my children have. Some of us created so much chaos and trauma, acting like a tornado through our whole damn lives, that once we stopped being this tornado, we look around and realize all the damage that was done, not only to ourselves but to others. And we got to clean up a lot. That's really the point of a self-discovery journey, is you can take this journey and just turn it into a beautiful walk of life, right? Like, let's call ourselves back to earth to self, and just walk life beautifully, grounded, understood by ourselves, loved by ourselves. And if it takes 15 years to get to self-actualization, or if it takes 10 years for you to even just really understand what the point or what your why is, at least you're starting it. At least you're getting there. So your first steps, like we talked about, it's going to be the why. Let's figure out your why. Then your why, once you decipher your why, you're going to learn the how. How do I solve that why? And what can I do? Then after you figure out the how, you're going to put these into action. You're going to take action. Don't overthink it. Literally, one of the things that I do for myself when I did therapy, so I've done 2 years of DBT therapy. It saved my life. But one of the things that we learned was when you just speak out loud, it's like your brain just shuts down and it can't keep going in its thoughts. So if you're like me, I'm an anxious person. I like to be reassured. I can go down a tunnel. I can go down a tunnel with the best of them. Okay. So when I am worried or when I'm anxious, and I can catch myself now, before I didn't understand this, but when I catch myself now thinking or worrying about others, or worrying about anything out of my control, the way I stop myself is by saying self. And I say it out loud, because I want you to practice right now. So I want you to think about your favorite pie. Just think about it. Is it apple? Is it cherry? It's got a flaky crust. It's in its pan. It's heated. You might put some ice cream on it. But when I say shoes, you immediately aren't thinking about pie anymore. So if you do that for yourself and you shout out a word, it could be pineapple. It could be cake. It could be self. Feel free to take that one. It completely shifts your brain. And so now I can, back to myself. again. But yeah, so don't overthink it. And if you catch yourself overthinking it, use my little tip and trick of just saying a word out loud. So don't overthink the actions. They can be the smallest things, from putting your phone down to giving yourself 5 minutes of realigning your vision, grounding yourself, or walking outside in the grass barefoot, grounding yourself, 10 minutes of journaling, and 15 minutes of closing your eyes to take a nap. Little self-care things. Just start there. Those are some great first steps, along with ideas on how you can help yourself through this self-discovery journey. So go forth, and like I tell my kids every day before they leave the house, go be great.